10 to 12 pigs that escaped the pit. It has been 19 weeks, 119 weeks, and the moon is still fresh. Yes, brother. Fresh. Like it just happened. Like it just happened yesterday. I was just at City Hall this afternoon, and we were there for a hearing. And the hearing was to introduce a bill that would require police officers to publicly destroy confiscated drugs and weapons. Because they're saying that these weapons and these drugs are destroyed when they get them, but don't nobody wants it happen. And so me and 3 other people went in there and we said we want to see who in the heck is destroying these weapons. Because as far as I'm concerned, your dirty dogs is putting them back out on the street. Back out on the street. Them same drugs, them same guns, back out on the street. Like dogs. And if you ain't dead, you're in jail, and you got what? The prison industrial complex. That's right. When you go to jail, they got people making your clothes and your shoes. There ain't no Santa Claus might not be real, but there's elves. There are slaves fixing our clothes. And if you ain't in jail, you're dead, and then yes, they're taking your organs. I have been over West all the time. I haven't seen a gun store. I haven't seen any weed place. Nothing. Where are these things coming from? Who is killing our people? They are killing us. I am 20 years old. I am young. And I am far from tired. And I am fed up with this. And I ain't going nowhere until killer cops is in cell blocks. And I don't have to be a victim to feel the pain. I don't have to be a victim. You don't have to be a victim. But I know. And then they got the nerve to justify that girl getting slammed on the ground in her desk in class, talking about she should have listened. Well, if that's the punishment for not listening, what happens to you when you run a red light? You get tased? Unacceptable.
That's right. Unacceptable. That's right.
So I'ma be here. You don't have to worry about nobody not being here, even if it's just us, and we huddle up together like a bunch of black people, and we make some fire, we gonna be out here. Because enough is enough of this. And I ain't gonna take it no more.
Yeah.
Bill, you're muted.
Thank you for letting me know I was muted. My mistake. Good evening, everyone. This is the 377th West Wednesday. We're in the fight, the long-term fight for accountability for the police murder of Tyrone West and all the victims of police brutality. And his sister, Tawanda Jones, will begin the program this evening.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. So welcome everybody, and like Uncle Bill just said, this is West Wednesday. We're at 377 weeks, and this is 2,634 days. So we've been fighting nonstop, and the intro video was our brother Seifu, and he's supposed to be joining us, but it might not happen today. It might have to wait till next week because he's actually trying to get off of work. He kind of got stuck at work. He sent me a message, so I don't know if he will be coming on tonight or not, but he just told me the last minute that his job's playing games. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be joined soon by our warrior queen, Tracy, and she is the sister of Leonard, and her brother was murdered too, and just like me, she is her brother's keeper. But I just want to go back to Seifu when he said something that it felt like the wound was fresh, and he quoted something about 100 and something weeks of us like doing this, and it still felt fresh. And now we're at 377 weeks, y'all, and it still feels fresh. and he hit on a lot of topics, and that's why I definitely wanted him on here because he is nothing but fire. He's a young ball of fire, is what I like to call him, and I'm just proud of him and who he became because he's growing into his character. And when I first met him with my family and our struggle, he used to always come out to West Wednesday. I remember us going to City Hall, just trying to change things. But it's just sad that here we are now in 2020 and nothing has changed. Literally, nothing has changed. And this is really sad. We have a big weekend planned this weekend. I apologize about my alarm system that's going off right now, guys. But it's sad that we're in 2020 and the same thing is happening. It's getting worse. But I saw something really interesting on the news this morning. They were talking about Detective Sean Suter, and what was really interesting was um, that they said that Commissioner Harris said that the investigation was closed. I thought they were actually investigating it. I was dumbfounded when I heard that, he stated that in 2019 that the investigation was closed. And I'm like, wow, so these type of dog and pony show games that they play. And it was really interesting. We actually saw Detective Sean Sears' lawyer. His lawyer was on there and he was talking, and that was great. And he made the point, though, even though that Baltimore basically is trying to close it, but it's still an active investigation, and nobody believes that foolishness about him killing himself. And he even talked about when he was actually sending him the message that day that he had to appear the next day for the grand jury, but he was appearing, guys, as a witness against Detective Jenkins, who was doing all this corruption, doing so much. He was testifying against him. So let's be clear. Don't let them try to trick us, because lots of times they spin stories and then they'll have you all confused with throwing so much at you, and they try to make it seem like, oh, well, Detective Suter, committed suicide. And another thing that was interesting that I learned, they talked about the independent review board. I didn't know, even though I knew there was an outside source, but I didn't know that they directly worked with the Baltimore City Police Department. I did not know that they worked directly with the Baltimore City Police Department. They're an outside agency. So basically, they're in cahoots with the foolishness. So this explains why they're always regurgitating what the killer cops say, not both of the witnesses, because especially in high profile cases, such as my brother's case, all they did was regurgitated what the killer cop said, nothing about none of the witnesses, and then they threw out there to say that, oh well, Ruiz and Chapman was not responsible for Anthony Anderson murder. They made sure they put that out there, but they never mentioned Abdul Salam being brutalized. They never mentioned the Rouse or none of the other victims that were brutalized. And speaking of which, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because right now we are working actively to have Ruiz, right, brought up on criminal charges. Not sure. First of all, I want him fired immediately, and not only do I want him fired, I want him charged with murder. I want him charged with all the crimes that he has done to Abdul Salam and all the many victims that we know of. What about the witnesses that we don't? So if you ever had a horrible encounter with Louise, you need to get in contact with me, my family, Uncle Bill, anybody from the West Coalition. We urge you guys, please, and we'll be sharing the video that the West Coalition got together, and thank Uncle Bill for putting the twist on it. But this is a very important video. Like, these are witnesses, leading not witnesses, but victims leading up to my brother being murdered. And the saddest part, the new commissioner, Commissioner Harris. I want to talk about these commissioners, these top cops. First of all, we know that we're in, I call it, be more corrupt. That's what this city is called to me. Be more corrupt. That's, anybody ask me where you from? Well, I'm from Be More Corrupt. That's where I'm from. This is where you see what's going on with the state's attorney. You see, like, this is like, it's nothing new with all the foolishness that constantly, all the corruption that constantly happens. And then they go to the criminals to give you a report. Like, really, like on the news, they had the Rue on there. He was talking about Marilyn Monroe. He shouldn't even been up there talking. Mind you, he was down on Greenmount and 21st. And he told the officers to turn the damn camera off while he was doing foolishness. Told me he was riding somebody can't see. We know what you was doing 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you let somebody out. You let your companion out on the Greenmount. Apparently they was familiar with that neighborhood, because anybody in their right mind or that's not from that neighborhood is not going to allow you to let them get off on the Greenmount. We know who the workers, the sex workers be out there, so stop playing with us. But for them to keep on going back, getting his opinion, he don't count. Like, and then they wonder what's wrong. And then they even go back to the old commissioner, Ed Norris. He's corrupt. He done been in jail. Like, stop playing with me. Like, the dog and pony show just goes on with all this damn corruption. But we need to be our own conscious consumers. We need to fight better than what we need to say. Enough is enough, y'all. And this is the time. And we're right now with election time being on a rouse right now. We need to put our foot down and just make a stand. And even which way that the election goes or don't go, we still got a duty to fight this damn system. And I was honored today to be amongst, I call my hero, Angela Davis. I didn't know she was from the Communist Party. And this is true. I knew she was a Black Panther, like from the Black Panther family type of thing. But it was amazing just to hear her talk. And shout out to my sister Erica, because she got a chance to speak and talk to her. And shout out to Nicole, because Nicole jumped in there at the last minute, got a good question out. So just a shout out to everybody that's actively doing stuff. But this is the stuff that we need to do. Enough is enough. But I hate to be like back and forth, but back to Detective Suter. We know he didn't kill himself. And just like his attorney said, so right now, the reason why he was in the spotlight, because right now the family, Detective Suter's family, his wife, his children, they're trying to get compensated for him. You know, they're trying to see if they're going to be awarded any type of funds. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with that and to see how they proceed. But this is just not right. Like, we know that this man was murdered. Like, clear, bloody murder. We know about the guy with the black and white jacket. And the crazy part, in case you don't know, the lawyer put it out there. The lawyer said, if it's so-called closed, why did they bring a suspect in this month, y'all? This month to be interviewed. So we know they're playing games. So if he killed himself, how you find, like, get out of here. And just like everybody, la-di-da, and everybody knows that he did not kill himself. The only ones they saying that was talking foolishness was basically Baltimore City corruption, the Baltimore City Police Department with their independent foolishness. And then they said something about, oh my goodness, what was it? They was talking about, oh my God, I can't even think of, but you know, I call that man Wizard of Oz. He's another Al Sharpton type of dude, but he was the only one with his foolishness. So like I said, enough is enough. We're not stupid. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to give it the best that we can give. So I was trying to like hold on to time, because I know I'm trying to see if our guests are going to still pop in or not. But I'm going to do a mic check real quick just to see if anything changed. Mic check.
Mic check. No one else has come in so far. Oh, someone just arriving.
Just popped in.
Yes. So I would guess, I don't know. There's no picture. It might be Tracy or say who is that?
Linda.
You can say it, Linda.
Ah, okay. Okay. If you liked one, I could say a few.
Yes, you go ahead and say a few words, because someone sent me a message. I'm going to check my message out to make sure it wasn't one of my guests. So you go right ahead, Uncle Bill. Mic check.
So we have close to 300 views already on the new video about how Bernardez Ruiz has to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated for home invasions, for racial profiling, for assault, for brutality, and of course, worst of all, for the murder of Tyrone West, because he and another cop instigated that traffic stop and perpetrated the whole event of the horrible beating of Tyrone West and taking his life. I want to put that in a little perspective in terms of nationally. Most people whose lives are taken by murder are murdered by someone they know. But if we only think about the murders when the person is killed by a stranger, a third of those murders are committed by police. The police brutality is not a small thing, it's a big thing. Now we know that it was the case of Eric Garner and the case of George Floyd, where as they horribly passed away, they were saying, "I can't breathe." But we don't know all the cases. It turns out there were at least 70 cases like that in recent memory. People who were saying, "I can't breathe," as they were killed by police. Every year for the last 8 years or so, on average, there have been about 1,100 police killings. That equals to about 3 every day. And in terms of the significance of this, if we look back at lynching during the period of Jim Crow saga after the end of slavery, if we look back at that period, the number of people that were lynched per year, as horrible as lynching was about 60. Now, we have 1,100 lynchings by the police currently, far worse. Even if we take into account the fact that the African American population is about 4 times larger today, and we multiply 60 times 4, that still would equal in the modern period 240 lynchings per year compared to an actual 1,100 police lynchings per year. So this is a problem of major proportions. And in the last 5 presidencies, there have been major rebellions against police murder. Many cases that you've probably heard about. Now, the problem has gone on ever since the end of slavery, and that's it's over 150 years. We've been through 30 different presidential administrations over those years, starting with the end of the Civil War up till now. So anything that persists through all those various political parties and policies and presidencies and administrations, anything that persists through 150 years has got to be systemic. And let's think about slavery for a moment. Why did slavery exist? It existed because that was the cheapest way to grow cotton. It was the cheapest way to grow tobacco, unpaid labor. That's what slavery was all about. And if we look at the modern world and the root of modern racism, we see that workers of color, black workers, Latino workers, indigenous workers, are paid significantly less. And if we take all the money they should have if wages were equal, if we take all that money, it turns out it represents about a third of corporate profits. For the corporations, the maintenance of racism is life and death, and police brutality is one aspect of that process because it serves to try and scare and terrorize the potentially most revolutionary section of the working class into being fearful and not doing that much. A word about the presidential election. Let's not forget that we all know how horrible Trump is. It's quite clear. But Biden also is not a very good choice. Biden in 1994 was the head of the Senate committee that came up with that omnibus crime bill. And part of that was to put 100,000 more cops on the streets all over the United States. Part of it was $8.7 billion to build more prisons. And part of it was ramping up the mass incarceration with the 3 strikes and you're outlaw. So in my opinion, voting is not going to solve our problem, although many people think it will, and my position here is probably a minority position. That's okay. But I think that the working class has to seize power, put an end to this system, because racism and the capitalist system have been intertwined for 500 years, and we can't defeat one without defeating the other. So I look forward to a beautiful future where we abolish police brutality, we defeat racism, we defeat the mistreatment of women, we defeat homophobia, and we have a sisterly and brotherly world, and we can do it, we will do it. It's going to take a minute. So back to you, Tawanda.
Thank you. Mic check. That was awesome, Bill. And our guest, Tracy, will be joining us soon. And Henry, if you're still watching, that flyer I sent you, if you could please send it to Ben, and that way Ben can put it somewhere in the chat because they wanted us to share it because Meredith tried to send it to me on, Facebook, and I couldn't, the messenger, but I couldn't open it up while we're on, so someone can share that message in the flyer because we have a big event that is happening this Saturday, and it's going to be in PG County, and I want as many people to come out. Like even though we're still in a pandemic, we're gonna definitely practice social distancing, mask sanitizing, washing of our hands. But we definitely need you guys. Like even though it's happening in the county, but unfortunately, this is it's not a county and city type of thing. It don't only happen in the county. It don't only happen. It's a worldwide thing, and it needs to stop. So you definitely don't want to miss this on this Saturday. And as I think about PG County, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Jamal Taylor, who was executed, gunned down, just like my sister Marva always says. They Prince George County declared that their nightmare ended. Are you kidding me? Or some foolishness along those lines, some corny foolishness when a mother has to raise her 4 children without their father. That's utterly ridiculous. I mean, gunned down. It's horrible. And it's just sad, but like I said, it's not just a county type of thing. It's a worldwide thing. It really is a worldwide thing. So and it just needs to stop. And my heart just goes out to anybody that basically lost a loved one due to police terrorists. It's sad to me. And while I'm on the topic, I had just did a nice very important Zoom call this weekend. Matter of fact, it was on Monday. I just did it on Monday with our sister Shaquita, and that is the grandmother of Stephon Clark. And my heart goes out. She has a thing called Blush Child, and she's talking to a lot of politicians in her state and just trying to do things to change things right there and change laws. But it was interesting. We had someone on, and they were talking about this dangerous, guys, and I say dangerous, I mean dangerous, this dangerous piece of legislation that they're actively working on right now as we're speaking. And it's just sad, like, they always try to hush it. This capitalist system always uses this money to try to either hush us or to kill us. Now that we got gag order laws passed there so people can tell the truth and not worry about, money being taken. Now they're trying something else. So what's new that's happening is basically, they're saying that in the lights of the George Floyd, and that's why they're trying to make it on a national level. So basically kind of worldwide type of thing, city to city type of thing, state to state. But they're basically saying that in the lights of what happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, with a lot of people being frustrated, protests, peaceful protests turning violent and things of that nature, and people burning down things, they're saying that the insurance companies are saying it's too much money for them to pick up the tab. So what they're trying to do with this piece of dangerous legislation is basically they get this passed that anybody that is hosting a rally, an event, if somebody comes, an agitator comes to look, 9 times out of 10, it's always the agitators. 9 times out of 10, it's always the damn killer cops that come by and say, because we seen and what happened when George Floyd was killed. We seen video footage, and they were saying it was a known police officer that was going around and that started that fire at the precinct. It wasn't just regular protest. It was them, burning and trying to make protesters look bad. But nevertheless, they're saying this legislation would hold whoever is, responsible for the gas. Like, say, for instance, if I say, okay, we're going to take West Wednesday on Greenmount Avenue, and do what we do, speed up and out there, even though we're inside now because of the pandemic, but this is not going to last forever because we're going to be outside. But the whole thing is, whatever group, is the West Coalition or whatever People Power Party or whoever, whatever group that is actively out there, or Baltimore Block, any, particular group that, get a big protest and lights of something, fighting this ugly system and having our voices heard. If something gets burnt down, they're coming for the person that was the leader instead of them coming for whoever did it. that's a bunch of foolishness. You got all these I-spy cameras that are watching over us, that ain't solving no homicide in my city. By the way, speaking of homicide, I'm outraged with all the bloodshed that's going on, with nobody being caught. It's just sad. Like right now, we're in a place where you can't even go to work and ride an MTA bus and not be, harassed because you tell somebody, oh, my bus is out of service type of thing, and then you get murdered. Somebody trying to say you get murdered in cold blood. You can't go to work. You can't even be a young woman parked on the side of the road and you get gunned down. And let's not forget about the mother that had her baby, her 3-year-old daughter that was gunned down and she was pregnant. So a whole family is wiped out. And it's just sad. So I'm not crazy to where I'm going to let them play and say, oh, police brutalities over here, street violence is over there, because guess what? It's connected to the highway of hell. That same highway that is wiping us out. But the difference is, I'll tell you the difference. The difference is that when they catch anybody that kills people, like with street community violence, they get prosecuted, right? To the fullest extent of the law, and you probably will never see them again. That's the difference. But we know who these damn killer cops is, and they get promotions. And which I was speaking about with Uncle Bill putting the video together. In the front of the video, you will see the commissioner, the top cop, giving Ruiz an award. And that's a smack in my damn face. It's a smack in my family face, my brother's children, the West. It's a smack in all of our faces because he met with my family. He knows Ruiz's history. So I guess he's rewarding. It's like almost like if a gang member kills somebody, they get rewarded, for that type of thing. They get whatever. This is what happens with the top cops. This is what they do when you get killed. When they kill and victimize people, they get rewards, promotion. Ruiz is a sergeant now, and he was at an honor award. Like, are you kidding me? You're handing him an award instead of handing him, putting some handcuffs on him, throwing his ass in a cell block. That's what I want to see. I'm past the reform thing. It's all good. Let's get rid of all that, the law enforcement officer, Bill of Rights, all that, the defunding, all that. But the most important part, if we do not use this moment right now to reopen all these cases, because guess what? None of these cases should have never been closed. And just like my sister H-Town, she says every case matters, not just the cases that make national news, because guess what? Everybody and Uncle Bill can bear witness and show you guys every week he reads a long list off. And guess what? I'm baffled because I'm like, I didn't hear about that. So it's a lot of cases that happens daily, every day. Just like Uncle Bill reminded us a while back when he said he talked about lynching. They went from lynching us every so often to now they are murdering us like right in the street. And I'm glad our sister Warrior Queen, Dr. Davis said today, she said, we watched the lynching, and that's what I saw when we saw George Floyd getting murdered. I saw a lynching. We've been watching lynching. We watched the lynching when Eric Gardner was murdered, choked out, I can't breathe on camera. We watched many lynchings on cameras. People in the Kentmore and Tellsway neighborhood watched Tyrone West being lynched. Anthony Anderson's family and witnesses watched Anthony Anderson being lynched. So did Jamal Taylor's witnesses that were out there when he was gunned down worse than an animal. They watched a lynching. So when Leonard Stan was murdered, they watched the lynching, and Tracy will be on here soon to tell us about her fight, her struggle. So right now I just want to do a quick mic check. Mic check.
Mic check. And let me just say about the PG event, it's this Saturday coming up. That's the 17th of October. And if you'd like to go down and participate, it's in a mall in PG County called the Forestville Mall. Forestville, Forestville Mall. And the family that initiated this rally is the family, as Tawana was just saying, of Leonard Shan. He was killed by the police in a hail of almost 50 bullets. Horrible. And there were 6 demands to the rally that you'll certainly hear if you go. I don't know if we have them to read tonight, but I just wanted to point that out. The 17th, this Saturday, Forestville Mall, starting at noon. I'll be going, and more people that come, the better. And it's being sponsored by a number of organizations in Prince George's County and also by those of us in the West Coalition. Back to you, Tawanda.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add that Mr. Leonard, he, just like my brother, had a special talent. My brother could draw anybody as he seen them. He loved drawing. But Leonard, he loved poetry. His sister shared with me that he was a beautiful poet. Like, he could write poetry like, oh my goodness, to the ends of time. Like, he was amazing. So, yeah. So our sister's trying to get on cue. So, Brother Brian, can you read our list real quick? And I'm gonna hop off real quick to make sure she's straight, because she says she's having technical difficulties because she's trying to get on. But worst case, Uncle Bill, could you send me the link and I can send her the link? That way she could click it and be on. Could you do that too?
Okay, Wanda, thank you for for having me here and for being out there for everybody, as you always are. I want to take just a second to talk about, Bill was saying how he doesn't think that voting for people is going to get us going to solve this problem. I think that not voting is going to make the problem worse. But one of the things that voting produces, these people who are supposed to be beholden to us often aren't as much as they should be, but they certainly aren't going to do anything for us if we don't, get on their backs. And I only bring this up in reference to what's going on currently. There are a number of groups pushing for reforms to repeal of the LEBOR, Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, and for a bunch of modifications to this. And so just anybody who is here in Maryland, I would ask you to please write to your representatives, call them, do whatever it takes to whatever you do to contact people. But one of the biggest things that keeps us from getting any sort of accountability in any of these situations is this Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. It's what keeps us from knowing how many times a police officer has been charged with brutality. It keeps us from having independent investigations. It just stops us pretty much from doing most of the things that make it possible to actually get some accountability. And so it's really important right now that we try and focus all our political energies on doing something about that. So I would just ask you to contact your representative, senator, delegate, whatever representative you have, even if it's just city council person, or if you're out in the county somewhere, whatever it is that you have in the way of representatives, call them and say that that you want this thing repealed and get this done. So that's my little rant for this week. And after that, I just have my sad duty, which is to try and lift up the names of people whose lives have been lost to the violence here in Baltimore. I always say that police violence is certainly the most unaccountable violence. It's the edge of the point of the spear, but it's only a part of the whole picture of violence that operates in our city and in our country and in this economy. I mean, so much of capitalism is just a slow violence against so many people. And this week we have had 8 homicides here in Baltimore. 6 of these we don't even know the names of as yet. So I will try to bring those out to you next week. But the 2 people that we do know who have been martyred this past week, and actually just might check their names for me. It's Marcus Parks, 51.
I'm sorry, can you say that once more?
Marcus Parks, 51.
Marcus Parks, 51.
Jerome Jefferson Jr., 31.
Jerome Jefferson Jr., 31.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, as he read those sad names, I feel for the families because at the end of the day, you only hear a name, but you don't know the faces, you don't know the impact, you don't know that the day that their loved ones was murdered, so was a family. Like literally, so was a family from their eldest to their youngest. You don't know that part. So don't just hear these names and just be like, oh, I heard another name. Something needs to be done. But I'm so glad that I just found out that my sister Tracy is in queue, and we're talking about the big protest that's happening. And Uncle Bill said he's gonna be there. I'm definitely gonna be there. So, and I urge you guys to be there. So, no further ado, I'm gonna bring our queen on because I respect her time. So let's give a warm, big mic check for our sister Tracy. Mic check.
Mike,
Check, and welcome, Tracy.
Welcome, Tracy. Hey.
Hello, how you doing today? Hello. Thank you, Ms. Tawanda, for having me on your show. I really appreciate this. I'm here today to invite all of you, if you're able to come out this Saturday to the protest re-image of policing. So I'm gonna start off by like telling you my story, and I won't take long because I have to respect other people's time too.
Sis, I think your camera's off because I can't see you. I can see you now. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You can see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
It's good. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah. So my story is I have a brother. I had a brother. His name is Leonard Shand. And my family's not from here. We're originally from Jamaica. So my brother, came up from Jamaica and was living here for a long time. And he had a really, hard life, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, he was just fighting through it like we all do. We all find our way to make a living. And in my family, our parents encourage us to not depend on no one to make us money. We got to go make our own money, meaning be entrepreneurs. So my brother was into doing construction work. He was a photographer, and he knew the stock game, how to do stocks and all those things. So he had something going on for himself, So in March, I believe, or April of 2018, my brother was at the Starbucks in New Carrollton, Maryland. And him and another person got into an argument. He asked the guy for a cigarette. The guy got smart mouth, and he was like, "Well, you ain't have to act like that. You know how it goes when you say, why are you acting like that? It's not a really big deal. Just say no. You know what I mean?" So the police end up coming out. I guess the police was already in the Starbucks, and he come outside. And my brother goes to walk away, saying, I'm done with it. I'm just gonna walk away from this. And the police decides to follow him up. Officer Whiting in New Carrollton. Officer White, I don't know if he's even still there. He probably moved to another district in Prince George's County, but it's Officer Whiting. So he followed my brother up, and when he followed him up, my brother says, "I don't have to talk to you. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't break any laws, so leave me alone." The officer goes to pull out a knife on my brother. And when I heard my brother talk about it, I was like, officers don't carry knives. Like, they got guns. Like, why would they carry a knife? But what he said ended up coming true, because long story short, the officer stabbed my brother. My brother took the knife from the officer, stabbed him back, because it was like self-defense. Both of them end up in the hospital. My brother got charged with all these charges. The officer didn't get charged with nothing. The officer said it was my brother's knife, and it wasn't. The reason how we found that out was because video camera came out and showed that it was the officer that pulled out the knife on my brother and stabbed my brother, and my brother was trying to defend himself. They dropped all the charges off my brother, released him out of jail after spending like a month or something in there. And then they turn around. My brother says, "I want to file charges on the officer," and they refused to file charges on the officer. He even tried to hire attorneys. Attorneys will not take the case. It's like, attorneys are supposed to help the citizens. So if you go to law school and you get your law degree and you pass the bar And then when a citizen has a legitimate complaint and want to file a lawsuit against the government, attorneys are kind of reluctant to do that. A lot of them are like that. They kind of fall back on it. So I have all the documentations. I have the video. I tell people I'll share the video with you so that you can see what happened for yourself. Because I know that when people say officers have a knife, that's the first red flag. Like, officers don't carry knives. What proof do you have? And it was the video that set my brother free in 2018. Now, coming down to 2019, my brother never went back to the Starbucks in New Carrollton. He was like, I'm done with them. So he was at a Starbucks in Hyattsville, across the street from PG Plaza. So he's at the Starbucks in Hyattsville. He go to that Starbucks frequently to get water or coffee or whatever he needs. And this one particular day, he goes to the Starbucks on September 26, 2019. He shows up and they call the police and says that he assaulted one of their bistros. I can't pronounce it, but bistro or whatever, right? And then my brother's like, again, he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't have to speak to you. I seriously did not do anything wrong. There's witnesses there that says, you know, he was just sitting here talking to us like, what are y'all doing? What is going on? And the witnesses even stated, and I have videotape of a witness stating that my brother was like, had his hands up. He's walking backwards. He's like, I didn't do anything. Y'all leave me alone. And he doesn't have no weapons or nothing in his hands. He had a book bag on. The lady said he took off his book bag, dropped it on the floor, and just kept his hands up and kept walking backwards. When you go along the video of the police, the Mount Rainier video, because that's the only video we have, the media has video that was edited, but we as the family still have not received video from Prince George's County or Hyattsville, nor any documentation that they have as of yet. So we're still waiting on that. But as they was going on, you know, them and my brother got into this big old roll back and forth, and he's like, no, y'all are trying to kill me. He lifted up his shirt and he said, y'all tried to kill me last year. Officer Whiting tried to kill me last year. Y'all coming back to finish the job this year. And he kept like saying no. And it like offered, you know when you're scared and you're like, I know they're gonna kill me. Instead of them calling out the medical unit, the crisis center, the family, a doctor, they decided they want to circle him, and they decided they want to shoot a taser at him. The witness was there and said the taser, they flashed a taser at him, and it didn't touch him, and he back away or whatever. And then they still follow him up. I got video showing the officer tried to kick him. They tried to run him over with the car. Hello? Oh yeah. They went through all of they just was antagonizing him until finally they shot a beanbag and then threw a flashbang, which a flashbang is illegal in Maryland. They're not supposed to use that against citizens, especially the officer that used it was not trained to use it. And when the flashbang went off, the other officers, what I'm hearing, was confused. So they thought it was a fire. They all started firing and fired over 44 shots and killed my brother. And not only killed him, but put him in handcuffs behind his back, turned him over on his hands behind his back to give him CPR. And anyone that knows CPR training, it's in CPR training, they tell you have to be flat on the ground or anywhere to give you CPR. And they killed my brother right there in right on the side of Prince George's Plaza. So when my brother got killed, it affected my family from London, all over America, Canada, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, everywhere. Like, people was like, we're in an uproar, like, this is crazy that this happened. So family came down, and that's when I started my fight. That's when I said, I'm picking up the torch from my brother, because he was stating this all this time. He was out in the street protesting by himself. He did not know of Ms. Tawanda. He did not know of the ACLU. He did not know of community justice. He did not know of no organization or nobody fighting. He thought he was in this fight alone, and he was stating all these things that sound like it can be a conspiracy theory, but it's actually not. This is legit. The government makes laws to suppress the citizens, no matter where they stand, especially the Latino and the Black community. And that's just facts. That is not something that is made up or somebody just, oh, you just want to make some. No, this is facts. You have them creating these laws, especially what the young man was saying about the Leobre. You know what I'm saying? Or Leobre. The law enforcement officers bill of rights, that needs to be repealed. I read that thing 3 times and I was like, I cannot believe they have something like this out. This is just so not right. And to have it be in existence today, when I went back and looked back in 1705 and saw the laws for the slaves back in 1705, that a white woman can beat a child until she kill him, and she will not be charged with a crime because she is disciplining that child. All they did was tweak everything up to modern day time. That's how I see it. That's my personal opinion. Nobody has to agree, but those are my thoughts. So as my fight went on, I joined with Kima with the community justice. Not really joined, but actually started to support what she was doing. And in supporting her, I ended up meeting other people, and then other people that I did not meet actually reached out to me, and I started to align myself with the ACLU and Women's Coalition, Miss Tawanda, and other organizations, because I'm like, there's a lot, knowing my brother and knowing that he didn't know a lot of things, and being here, and as me being an educated woman, I have a degree, and I'm in school now going for another degree, and I'm like, this stuff I didn't even know. These are I'm taking a criminal justice class that talks about juvenile delinquents, and the things that they're teaching, I'm like, what? Like, where do you get those? Where you get your surveys from? Like, this doesn't even make sense. You get me? And some things, it's like, yeah, that's true. Like, I can't deny that part. You get me? So at the end of the day, I came up with an idea where we need to reach out to the communities. We need to, gather together, get all the organizations together, get the people together, and we shout it out on the highest mountain that we can find to let people know that we are being torn apart. Divided, we will fall. United, we will stand. So we have to come together and unite together to get rid of the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, to adjust the MPIA, and to make all the laws be on a unified level for Baltimore and Prince George's County. Because when I see Baltimore and when I hear the stories that go on in Baltimore, I say Baltimore ain't nothing but another New York. It ain't nothing but another New York, where they pick up the kids them off of the street, they lock them up, charge them with crimes they didn't even commit, pad up their case, and put them in Rikers Island, and let the inmates over there go ahead and kill them. Literally, that's what happens in New York. And that's how I see Baltimore. They're just killing the Black and the Latino community left and right. And then it's coming down into PG County, where they're doing the same thing. I live in Montgomery County. I live in Germantown. So a lot of things I don't see, or I'm not really, in the loop. But it doesn't mean that I'm blind. It doesn't mean that I don't hear. It doesn't mean that I don't have common sense. So I know these things are happening. But like I said before at one other meeting, I always tell people, I stay in my corner. Don't knock on my door. But when you killed my brother, you knocked on my door. So I can't stay in my corner no more. If you want to shut me up, you got to lay me down, because I will not shut up. And everything I find out that is unjust with the judicial system, I'm going to blast it. And I'm going to call the names. So they don't do nothing in front of me, or don't let me have no knowledge, because I'm going to blast you, whether you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I feel about it. We got to let the people know what is going on. And yeah, a lot of people think that they don't know, that they do know, but a lot of times they don't. So with the re-image policing, as Ms. Tawanda had up on the screen, it's about gathering the community, letting them know the demands of the organizations, of what they're trying to put them to do, what the citizens are trying to put the government to do, what the laws that they are trying to change, and educate the people and have everybody tell their story. If you got a story, the next person got a story, tell them, come out here and tell your story. I want to hear what they did to your family member that wasn't right, so that I can blast them. So I can put it out there that maybe you might be next. Because right now it's coming down like a roll call. Who's next? you know. So I just wanted to be on Miss Tawanda's panel, because I wanted Miss Tawanda to come out and invite her people, invite her posse, invite her crew to come out and support, and hopefully we could do something in Baltimore, because this was designated for the Baltimore and Prince George's County, and I really wanted to make it a nationwide thing, like a whole United States thing. But I said, you gotta crawl before you walk. So I said, let me start with my location, which is PG Baltimore, and bring them together and help them as much as I can, and support and do anything they need to get these laws changed, to get the citizens to live in a better position, so we can go ahead and fight for other states and move on to other counties and districts and cities, because this is becoming ridiculous. When you got people on Facebook and on Instagram coming on there saying they're waiting for things to go wrong during the next coming election so they can go out on a rampage and purge in the Black and Latino community, it's like, oh yeah? Okay. We need to put you on blast. We need to make sure that we get the right people in office, and we got to do our homework, educate ourselves, who's right, who's wrong, and keep going through this process until we get laws changed to benefit everybody. It should not only benefit the European community, it should benefit everybody. The Black, the Latino, and the Asian community should not suffer all because of racism or discrimination. You know what I'm saying? That's just ridiculous. We are in 2020. We are not in 1705. Them days are done and they're gone. And you don't just have, Americans that was born here, living here. You have people from the Caribbean. You got people from England, Asia, Africa, Canada, South America coming to America, and we're all united to make this country be a better country. But we can't do it if we still have people fighting against and trying to say, well, money is power, and they want to push everybody to the side, hold the lower people down so they can rise up and take over. We're not animals. We're human beings. We got feelings, we got souls, we got hearts, we got blood. We bleed like everybody else. We hurt like everybody else. And when you kill our family member, it doesn't just, okay, the family member is gone. No, you killed a piece of us. That was my brother. That was Tawanda's family member, and that was whoever else family member that's on this platform that has lost a loved one. And you can't say, well, you know how white people are, because hey, don't let me get into something else on another level. But at the end of the day, we all have to come together, whether you're white, Black, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter where you come from. You are human, and you got feelings, you got compassion, you got sympathy, you got a heart, you got a soul. So once you have those things and they're working, then we should all come together and join together and fight together to make America be good. And it was never good to begin with, because don't forget how they come over here and kill off the Indian them, and kill off the Mexican them, and then take over the land, and then fight for their freedom from the British. And then want to suppress the Black slaves that they bring from Africa. So this country was made up on bloodshed. So we, as the citizens today, have to change that, have to wipe off that bad vibe, that bad karma, and make it something. If you believe in God, if you have any faith in the Almighty, and I'm a religious person. So if you have any faith at all, even if you don't believe in God, you have a heart. So we all have to come together and stand as one. United we stand, divided we will fall. And not only will the Black community and the Latino and the Asian community fall, they will go for the lower end white people too, because they think that power is money. And we have to show them, no, you have to have a heart, and we have to come together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Queen. Like, first of all, I just want to send my deepest condolences. I know how it feels, like, because that was my big brother. Like, so I know how it feels to lose that other half of you that was so significant. So, and people don't realize that pain, and they don't have to be in our position. You get what I'm saying? They can do something now. And that's why I love the West Coalition members, because most of them haven't had nobody from their family murdered. You get what I'm saying? A loved one. They might know people, but it's a difference from, and I learned the hard way, it's a difference from knowing someone than having it hit you directly at your home, and you're being in that prep stage that you never asked for. And I'm with you on that. Until my coffin drops, I'm never going to stop fighting. Not just for my big brother Tyrone, but for your brother, for our brothers and sisters. Because like you said, it's almost like a dog, a loose dog that got the taste of blood. And he's just snapping and snapping and snapping. And until they put the beast to sleep, it's going to constantly continue on tasting blood. And that's what this is. And it's been happening over 400,000 years. Like, when is enough enough? If this not the time now, we in 2020, I don't know when. I don't know when. So right now, I'm with you, sister, and I love you. And are you ready to take some questions real quick or comments?
Yes, yes.
Cool. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mike, yeah.
Tracy, whoops, I'm sorry, I just turned my mic off. Can you tell us a little more about Leonard as a person?
Well, telling him is like telling you about the family. We're
If you'd rather
all,
not, that's okay.
yeah, we're all spunky people. So we have ambition. Leonard is a very ambitious brother. Like, and he's very helpful. He's very kind. He had a mindset that, you know, he got to succeed, and that's something that's been drilled into us from our childhood, that, you know, we have to make it, we have to succeed, we have to get an education. So he was that type of person where he knew about computers. He learned how to do home improvement, because my dad owns a home improvement company, and then my mom owned a temp agency, so we knew how to function in our own self-employment. And he used to manage a band, a go-go band, many years ago. And then he did photography work in the clubs. At a very young age, he got mixed up with the wrong crowd at about 17, 18, and he ended up going to jail for about 15 years. While he was incarcerated, he was locked into a room by the officers, and they let in other inmates that beat and raped him while he was incarcerated. No justice was done from that. And as the time went on, I remember him saying he'll never go back to jail again. So when he came out, the time that I think he came out, I can't remember the exact time, but it's been like 15 or maybe 10 years from that time. All he's been doing is expanding his knowledge, working, and, you know, trying to kind of, you know, lift up himself, you know, and lift him himself to kind of get a stable ground. So he's rented rooms, he's rented apartments, you know, he bought cars, he just tried to stay out of trouble. If you look up his criminal background from the time he was released, all you see is on there like he might have been speeding and got a traffic ticket. There's no other criminal offenses on there, unless that bogus one that would happen in PG at New Carrollton Mall, and you'll only see the one that happened many years ago in the 80s when he got caught up with the wrong crowd. You know, but all of us, we're like the same people. So that's why I say when they say that my brother beat someone on Monday and then came back on Thursday, I was like, wait a minute, they must not know the Shan family, because if we beat your ass on a Monday, we ain't coming back on a Thursday. You know, that's just like, that don't sound right. That don't even sound like him. But, you know, what happened. So that's just a little bit. He didn't have any kids. He wasn't married. And we're the three from my mom and dad. We have other siblings, but they have different mothers, and we have one brother, and he has different. It's my mother's husband, so they have a child together, and then my father time, so he has children outside. But we have a very big family, and we're all family oriented. Like, all of us know each other. We was raised together. So even though my sister has a different mother, I'm going to her house, to her mom's house for Thanksgiving. That's how united we are. We stick together. So my family is huge, and we cover all of America, and Canada, London, Jamaica, Panama, Puerto Rico. So we're a very huge family.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, I just want to mention that the West Coalition's been going on ever since the death of Tyrone, so it's 7 years now, or 7.5. And we haven't won the prosecution of any of the police, but we have won a few things. So the struggle is important in many ways. For example, it used to be in Baltimore, if you had a member of your family that was killed by the police and you want a settlement, and they were going to give you some cash, which never takes the place of a loss, but anyway, that replaces the income they would have brought in, and so on. It used to be when you accepted that settlement, you had to sign a statement saying you would never again talk about it. We call it a gag order, they call it a non-disclosure agreement. So for 2 years we fought that and we beat it. And now they're not allowed to use the gag orders anymore in Baltimore.
Yeah, I heard. And I talked to when I heard about that, I talked to my mom and dad about it. And I told them, I said, don't sign no gag order, because if y'all sign it, y'all gonna have to, if we do win the civil case, because they did not indict any of the officers that killed my brother, even when they was under investigation during COVID, they put officers back out in the field to go work while they was under investigation. And that's when I was like, what are you doing? Like, I can't even do that with my company. If something happened illegal in my company, I can't bring people back to work after the EEOC or whoever come up and say, these people are not supposed to be here. So how are you able to do it? How are these police officers able to have rights that normal citizens like me that pay my taxes can't have? So that's when I was like, no, that's not right. So when I heard about that in Baltimore, I told my mom and dad, I said, don't sign nothing, because y'all gonna pay back that money, because I ain't gonna stop talking.
Yeah, Tracy, I thought the thing about the grand jury after Breonna Taylor and listening in the way it went down with Leonard, I think it's really important that we think about how the grand juries operate within the justice system too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Another thing we were able to win over the course of these years of struggle was when the last police commissioner lost his position and they were looking for a new one, they had in mind this guy from Fort Worth, Texas, named Fitzgerald, if I remember correctly. And he had a terrible record in that police department he led in terms of police brutality and racism. And so we organized a lot of people to go down to a city council hearing when they were talking about whether he should be hired, speaking very strongly that he doesn't belong in this city and we don't want him in here as the police chief. And we were not the only people opposing him, but we played a significant role in making sure that he didn't get here. And I think we may have saved some lives in that process. So there's lots of good work to be done, even before we win, getting these cops in cell blocks where they belong.
Yeah, I think so. And to me, what I'm understanding, because I wasn't really too familiar with Baltimore, like I know Baltimore isn't to go there, but I wasn't too familiar with the fight. Baltimore and even Montgomery County, I've heard, have been making changes or trying to make changes to appease the citizens. And I see that, and I've heard that Prince George's County is like, no. And I'm like, what? Like, you're majority Black and Latino. The people in office are Black and Latino. Like, what is wrong with you? Why wouldn't you want to make it better for everybody? And they're just standing still. That's my understanding. How true it is, I don't know, but that's my understanding of what's going on in PG. And I would like to be a part and be able to speak up and be able to fight with Baltimore and PG to make more laws change to where people aren't sitting back saying this is so unethically right. And I remember when I took a legal class, I think it was one of the judges from Montgomery County, or a state's attorney from Montgomery County. I can't remember which professor it was, but I remember taking a legal class and they said, just because something is unethical doesn't make it illegal. And I was just like, what? Like, how does that work? And they was explaining that something can be unethical, but it can still be legal. And that still is mind-boggling to me. So I just said, they just create what they want to create to benefit them. And we got to figure out a way to make them not do that. And whether it's to come up to elections, whether it's to protest against them, whether it's to peep out what they're doing in the community before they go up and run for governor, run for Senate, run for whatever part of elections. We need to keep an eye on the people that have political aspirations and follow them through their career, so we know that we need to stop them in their tracks before they make it to that voting board where people will vote on them. Because that's the problem. We're not following that's what I see the problem is. That doesn't have to be the problem. But to me, I said we're probably not following them from way back, because when you look at what's her name? Harris. I can't remember her first name, but Harris that's going with Joe Biden.
Kamala.
Yeah. And me and my brother was talking today, and he was and I said I heard something that she has said back in the day, a long time ago. She said Joe Biden was racist. So I said, if you think that Joe Biden is racist, why are you running with him now? Like, what are you doing? And then my brother was like, that's the political game. Some people say things at a certain time, and then as time goes on, you know, depending on the situation and circumstances, they'll change their mind and they'll start aligning with those same people. And I was just like, this is so confusing to me.
Well, you know, Kamala Harris, when she was district attorney in San Francisco and later the attorney general in the whole state of California, there were many cases of police murder that she would not prosecute. So she doesn't have the best history herself. But I think that Frederick Douglass made a very good point. He said that a man can carve out his circumstances, but the circumstances also carve out the man. So you take someone with a good heart that goes into political office, they know that rich people really control politics. Rich people control the economy, and they know who's buttering their bread, and they kind of forget about the working class and they serve the rich. And I think that process goes on, as Douglas said. Their circumstances change and it influences their character. Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is a situation, and not just in the higher political realm, but also in the low, also in the community. It has been a problem even with the Black Panthers and them starting up and I think it was 1966. I just got educated on their beginning of their struggles in trying to, you know, have their own political party, and how it was turned around to say they was hating white people and they wasn't for this, and then people was aligning with other people to get to fight their political aspirations, to where they moved on to Chicago and New York and started to develop to where they done things in the community, and they help fight against police brutality. But it depends on what litter you're talking about. It depends if you're talking about Chicago litter, New York litter, to determine who's who. I always thought the Black Panthers were all together, but I learned something different, which they did do a lot of work, but they never got their ultimate goal of creating their own political party. And I just was like, that's just sad to me. Like, everybody should have the same opportunities, but unfortunately, you know, we know who guides the narrative of what they want the public to see. So we have to always do our research.
What?
Yeah.
Tawanda, you want to jump back in?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say to my sister, because I remember she had mentioned something about conspiracy theories, and that's how the system have everything set up to make it seem like we're crazy, we're losing our mind. But since I urged you to get this book, and it is called I Got a Monster, and it talks about all the corruption here in Baltimore City, and then I also urge you to get Westmore 5 Days. These books tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and it leaves some of the truth out of it. I'm just gonna be honest, because everything is not in there. I guess Hollywood could make this stuff up, and it takes more time. But I said all this to say that it's no coincidence that when your brother got stabbed up by an officer, and people are like, oh my God, officers don't stab. Officers do anything. If you want to be the best criminal, become an officer, because they're the ones serving us death while they're protected. They're not protecting us. They're serving us death, serving us brutality while they're protected. And that is the truth. And it's like a strong message, because he got off and he proved himself, and thank God for the video. Because had it not been for the video to see that, they would have said that that was your brother knife the first time when it happened. Then once they heard and got wind that he was back in Starbucks, they like, oh, he's back there? Even though it was a whole nother one, they knew his name, they knew the struggle, and they knew what their duty they had to carry out. They're the biggest gangs in America, I'm telling you. They're the biggest mobs, they're the biggest hitmen. I'm telling you, you cannot make this stuff up. Like, literally, when we were telling them how after my brother was murdered, somebody broke in my brother's house. 2 days later, the landlord said there was no forced entry. He described it looking like a raid. Nobody believed our family. Literally, when I told them when my brother was murdered and Ruiz left the report and said he was from the Gun Trace Task Force, and when I kept saying, the person that killed my brother's from the gun trade. Nobody believed me. It was like, oh, she's just trying to be heard or seen or whatever the hell they want to think. I don't give a damn at this point. But I said all to say, and until they see it, it's said that we are people. Until we see the damn pain or feel it, until we put our hands in the damn fire and let it burn all the way up, we're not going to believe that fire burns. And that's the same way with this corrupt system. Until people actually basically are forced to see how corrupt this damn system is, we believe in it. And I can bear the fruit and say I was one of them people that believed it. I know the system I thought at first it had some flaws, but I'm like, at the end of the day, because that's how my family raised me. Like, they raised us to do the right things, good things. I know good things happen to bad people, but at the most part, if you're doing stuff right, you living right, you don't gotta really worry about too much. And if something do happen, then you got a sister that will see you through. Well, I found out the damn hard way. The cover up is worse than the murder itself. The cover up is worse than the murder itself. It's worse than my brother was beaten broad daylight, 11 to 15 men and women. I'm talking about pepper spray, tase, mace, beat with batons over 18 minutes. You talk about we see the video of George Floyd suffering for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. You get what I'm saying? Everybody's like, oh my God. But my brother was beat in broad daylight and the crazy part, we still don't have accurate count. That's why I'm like 11 to 15. But I heard it was up to 25. They said they was over top of my brother as if they were playing football. They were like, and that's what they do. They kill us for sports. They kill us and they go brag about it. Read that book because it's all in there on how they do. And if we think that it ends when they send them criminals to jail, something's wrong with us. So I just want to share. You don't think that, it's a conspiracy. It is what it is. If it walks like a dog, bark like a dog, it's a dog. It walks like a dog, quacks like a duck, it's a goddamn duck.
Right, I agree with you because for years before even my brother was killed, I said, police ain't nothing but criminals with a badge. I said, I dated an officer, so I know. I'm like, y'all ain't nothing but criminals with a badge. Y'all are licensed to kill. And then as I got more into this, studying the government and politics, I said the government coming like a mob. You remember the mafia back in the 80s and the 70s? I was like, they coming like the mafia. Like they move a certain way that I'm used to in Hartford, because we're from Hartford, Connecticut. So they move a certain way, and we used to seeing things in New York and in Jersey, and we like, wait a minute, So I said, and now that I'm older, I say the government is the mafia. Like, they are the mob. That's how I see you. That's how I visualize you. That's how I see that you do things. You have people pay taxes. We pay you to hire officers to come and beat us to give you more money. That's what we pay you. Remember back in the 80s or in the 70s when the mob used to set up people and tell them, you got to pay us to protect your store, or you got to pay us to protect the community, or you got to pay us to protect your building. And then if to collect their money, when they don't get their money, what do? They beat the crap out of people. You better have my money, if not kill them. And that come into me like the government. They hire these officers to kill off the black. They start with us, the black and Latinos, and then when they feel that they finally got rid of us, if they're not kidnapping us and putting us in for experiment, or doing something else with us, selling our bodies for parts, or doing something else, when they're done with us, you know who they're gonna go after? The other white people, the Italians, the French. They're gonna go after them, and the other lower end Europeans that they say, okay, we can control you too. That's too much power for a group of people. That's too much power. You have too much control, and it has to get stopped now. It has to come to a halt now, because when you got a person in office that says, stand down but stand by, you giving me warning signals, and that's not good. That's not a good person to have. So we need somebody else to say, let's all come together again. Let's calm down and let's take this on an even level base, because you don't want to have people in uproar. You don't want to have the gun stores selling out because they're scared that people are going to come back. We should not live in that condition. We were born and raised here. My family was born in Jamaica. I was born and raised at the Hartford Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. You cannot deport me. And then to know that you're trying to come up with laws to say, well, if you have family members, if your mom and dad come into this country, we're going to deport them and deport you too. And I'm like, that's not right. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, the fight is so much more. It goes so far beyond policing and all this, but we got to start at one section and get rid of that worst section, which is policing, before we can expand to the other sections and start taking down them too. Or not taking them down, but start fixing them.
Tracy, can you remind people the date and the time and the location for Saturday's rally?
Oh, my phone went on thing. Can y'all hear me? Okay. It will be in Forestville at Forestville Mall. Let me get the address for you again. At Forestville Mall, at the corner of Donnell Drive and Pennsylvania Avenue at 12 o'clock. Well, at 11:30 if you can get there early, but it starts at 12 o'clock exactly. So I'm gonna get the exact address. Just give me a moment, please. So the exact address is 3101 Donnell Donnell Drive. They say District Heights, but it's in Forestville, Maryland, 20747, and it's at the corner of Donnell and Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't intimidate anyone, or
we keep it real.
I can get aggressive sometime. I apologize.
We like
you ain't gotta apologize for nothing. We keep it real on this platform.
We like strong with the West Coalition.
Yeah, yeah. Because the pain is real, and I just thank you for your time. I know you're so busy, and do you gotta go now? Because I know you got other things that you wanted to wrap up and stuff like that. But I want to
but I can hang on because I never been in your show before, so I'm really interested. So I can hang on for a while. I have an assignment that I have to complete, but I don't mind staying up to 3 a.m. to do it.
That long, but I just thank you, and I definitely want to bring you back on again, because girl, we be having some real, oh my god, yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah, so I just thank you for your strength. And anybody else want to ask our sister anything or add on? And Uncle Bill, I got a question. Did Nicole ever join us yet?
No, she said that a friend's father passed away and she was supporting her friend, and that it might take longer than she originally figured.
Oh, okay. Oh, because I wanted to introduce you to her. And the sad part, she lost her father-in-law, and then turned around 2 weeks later, her 16-year-old daughter was murdered. And she has a beautiful voice. I'm gonna get her to sing us a song real quick, but she's amazing. It's just sad, but again, back to the reality, we gotta deal with these corrupt people, and it goes to me, it's deeper than just the police department, right? We could just, if it was just corruption only in the police department, and we were only dealing with the cops, and I say criminals on payroll serving, that's my definition of cops, and they're not serving us. They're serving us death while they're protected. They're serving us brutality. But nevertheless, if it was just them, that would be an easy fight. We could win that literally, I would say, it would take no more than a year. We could actually do that. But when you think about all the corruption, you gotta talk about the medical examiner's office, who is complicit in all of this, who basically lies to get these killer cops off. You gotta talk about these judges that are corrupt to the core, that you gotta talk about these independent foolishness with they know, and it's just sad, but I always think about it, and somebody, and I'll never forget my sister Hillary, she made the brightest point, the thought she told me, it never left my mind frame. Something she shared with one of her thoughts, and it made it so clear. She didn't put it like how I'm about to express it to you, but it made sense. And she said, At the end of the day, it's not about what's right or what's wrong. It's about winning and losing. And I'm thinking like, and that thought that made me think and go back there. So when I look at it, if you think about when injustice is done, right? You think about even the ones that are accused and the ones that are like the defendants and the victims. Both of them gonna have attorneys fighting like hell to save their life, right? So at the end of the day, it's sad that it does boil down to winning and losing. And right now we're losing. Right now we're losing this corrupt system. This is like, I'm just to the point that like, over the reform thing, which I think is good. Like we definitely need to knock down the police officer killer rights. That's what I call it. Their killer rights. It allows them, it places them above the law. Like they can brutalize. They think it okay because at first it started when they had 10 days. They knocked down 5. No, knock it down. Snatch that security blanket completely off of them and let them be charged just like we are. Just like you think about the murderer that murdered George Floyd, he's out on $1 million bail. But yet we got an innocent man, Keith Davis Jr., that's been sitting in a damn jail cell for damn near 5 or 6 years. It's ridiculous. This is the foolishness, and it's sad that we're in a world that if they don't kill you, it will bury you alive. That's why I say, God forbid, if anything happens to me, this is my living will right here. Tear it down, knock it down, build it back up. Don't name no streets after me. Don't do nothing. Go get them damn killers. Knock this system down. I'm tired of it. Like we keep on, and the crazy part, nobody want to give people flowers while we're living. Nobody want to tell you, sister, thank you for fighting for your brother, and not just for him, but holding us all up. Nobody, I'm thanking you now in advance. You get what I'm saying? Like nobody wants to come in our space while we're breathing, and it's just sad that we have loved ones now that we don't even go and visit. But God forbid they die, whether it's from the coronavirus or a murder or whatever, or just sickness or anything, they just pass on. We will drive miles. We will probably leave our state to go and see them, to come see them laying dead in a box or pay our respect. Pay your respects now while that person lives. Pay your respects now. Pick up that phone and let them know you love them. I don't care what you're going through. Life too short. Life is way too short. I don't care if you get to live to see 120. That's too short. That's too short. So make every day count. And what we're doing, we're making it count. Even though we never asked for this, but we're gonna make it count. Like I said, I'm gonna keep rocking it out until they kill me. And even if I can come back and haunt them, guess what? I'm not gonna be Casper the Friendly Ghost. You better believe that. You better believe that I'm not gonna be Casper. Cause I just want to throw that in there. But before we wrap up, guys, anybody want to add, say anything to our sister queen?
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I look forward to being there for the rally on Saturday.
Yes, I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you, and I hope that you all can make it out. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a long fight, and as you know, we've been fighting for a long time already, but the fight doesn't stop at all. Even when we're down and we get killed or we die off, our future children and generation will continue the fight, but we just have to raise them right. You know what I'm saying? Just raise our children united and tell people, have compassion for other people and see other people as who they are. You know what I'm saying? Treat people accordingly and just raise our kids right. I have 3 children of my own, and I always tell them, I said, treat people how you want to be treated. If you don't want to be treated nasty, don't treat people nasty, because it'll come back on you. Karma is real. So yeah. So I appreciate you guys. I would love to see you there. And if y'all want to speak, just let me know. Like when you show up, just let me know. We'll put your name on the list to speak. Speak what's on your mind and let the people know your knowledge and where you're coming from, and how what you want to get out of this or what you want to see changed. We need to hear more people speak.
Yeah. And sis, I want to let you know I invited some families from Baltimore, and one of my sisters, her children's father, Jamal Taylor, was gunned down in PG County, and it made a whole year this like a last week or something. They made a whole year of his brutal execution, gunned down on video, and to the point that her kids could jump on YouTube and pull that horrible video up. And the crazy part, they want to say, "Oh, well, he had a knife." I don't care what he had. If you can walk Dylan Roof to accountability after he went in the church and slaughtered people after he prayed and broke bread, and you give him a bulletproof vest and a damn burger, don't tell me no foolishness. I ain't got time for it. The conversation ends at the foolishness. I'm not even going to entertain these fools no more. First, I used to try to be like, okay, let me just kind of listen. But when I see that it's going down the direction of food, the conversation over with. The conversation over with. Like, because at the end of the day, a lot of people, and I'm not talking about any of us, but I'm saying it's people out here that really suffer from like mental illness. You get what I'm saying? They don't need to be gunned down because they're going to a mental illness crisis, right? They need somebody to actually take them to seek medical care so that they can be okay. When somebody pick up that phone for their loved one, and just say, you're playing Russian roulette with your loved one life. You don't know if a killer cop will come, and the first thing they're going to use is that call. Oh, and the first thing they can say, I fear for my life. They're the ones armed. We fear for our life when you're coming up to us with your guns for a goddamn light bulb or a traffic stop. We fear for our life all the time, but I'm gonna leave y'all with this. It's sad that they're the only ones in there, but at the end of the day, let's go to the origin of policing, right? They were designed to catch slaves, to kill them, to do whatever, and that's what they're still doing. A cook is gonna cook, a teacher's gonna teach, a singer's gonna sing. And the killer gonna kill and abuse. Let's be crystal clear on that. Why is it that they're the only job that can actually say, I fear for my life and get away with bloody murder? Think about a burning house, a family house is burning down, God forbid, with a whole family, babies and everything. What if the firefighters, they gotta go and they're putting their life on the line, like anything. At that moment they can actually walk in something to the left and they can never see their family again. That's real, right? And so let's say for instance a house burning down. Could those firefighters, those men and women that we pay to go in there, that train, to go and put the fire out there, could they actually stand on the curb, let the house burn down, and then their boss show up and say, why in the world y'all sitting down here? Oh, we saw all them flames come out the window. We fear for our life. What do you think would happen to them? Why do you think the men and women in blue can get away with that foolishness? It is their act. We gotta realize it. They're doing their damn job.
Let me say something. There's this kid named Emmanuel. I believe it's Emmanuel Owens. Don't quote me on the last name, but I know his first name is Emmanuel. He was killed in Baltimore. He went to the Dollar Tree, bought something, and the lady called the police and said he stole something. When the police showed up, he showed his receipt, and he was mentally, challenged. And he showed his receipt to show that he bought his merchandise, and they chased him. I don't know Baltimore, but from what I hear the story, you can look it up. They chased him, they shot him, they killed him, and when he was dead on the ground, from what I hear from the family, they can see the video where the officers were stepping on his dead body while they was doing their, investigation of the scene. That's in Baltimore.
Wow.
And I was like, when I first heard the story, I was like, wow, that's terrible. No lawyers will take the case. Lawyers tried to rob them, the family, and it's just happened now. They have an attorney now, but it's just, this is crazy that police officers came to gun down. Now, mind you, he never stole anything. The lady was wrong, and then he was mentally challenged, and they treat him like an animal in the street, like a dog in heat. Remember that movie, Kojo? They treated him like a Kojo after Kojo got bit by the rabbit.
Wow.
And stepped all over his body. And that is so, that's not even humane. Like, if you're human, you're not going to do something like that. So when you tell these stories about other families that have been through what you and I have been through, it's horrible. It's horrible. and then to know that we're all intertwining. Our communities are coming diverse. We're dating, like, I date white men. My cousins are married to white men. My father's married to a white woman. And what you want to do? You want to tear us apart again? This is not right. We're supposed to be able to unite and multiply and make it a better place. But you keep trying to divide us, and it's not going to work because we keep uniting and keep multiplying, and we're going to keep on multiplying.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sis. You brought that fire tonight. Yes. I got church for free tonight. So let me ask you a question. But on a certain side, sis, how can we reach you? How can we support you? If you got any information, please throw it out there.
Okay, you can reach me at my phone number is 202-553-3089. That is my cell number. And I do have a Facebook page called Licata Washington. That's LICATA Washington. I'm not all technical savvy like you, Miss Tawanda. Like, I'm really just starting. You know, I own a mobile salon, and because of COVID, you know, it kind of put me out of business. But I said I was like, this came at the right time because, you know, I don't have to jump back in so fast. But, you know, those are the two avenues: my home number and my Facebook page. My email address is LYANN6 Leanne6 @gmail.com. LY as in yo-yo, A as in alpha, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy again, 6 @gmail.com. So those are some contacts for me if someone, you know, want me to do something or go somewhere or pass out something or promote something. I'm always willing and able.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. And I don't have an organization or nothing like that. I thought about it at one point, but then I was like, there's so many other organizations out here doing stuff. I just want to sit back and support at this moment. I just want to help everybody else do what they got to do and figure out where I stand in this thing. You get me?
Oh, yeah.
Where my place is. So I don't have nothing like that. I'm literally, ultimately a supporter. I just want to support everybody else.
Okay, we definitely love your support, and we definitely in this together. And you got our support as well, and I'm definitely gonna see you. And Uncle Bill, I got a quick question. Do you have that list of all the police killings that's worldwide? Do you have a list tonight for us?
Yeah, it's not worldwide, just U.S.
Oh, U.S. I'm sorry, U.S.
Yeah. Well, they don't update this list every day. These are people killed by the police. As we know, the average is about 3 a day, 1,100 a year. So this is just for a 3-day period, and the most recent day they have is October the 4th, and I think probably that's not filled in yet, unfortunately. So if you could repeat the names after me so we can honor these people who were killed by police recently. On October the 2nd, on the same day, October the 2nd in California, 39 years old, also killed by police, Mikkel Eric
James Edward Baker.
On the same day, October the 2nd in California, 39 years old, also killed by police, Mikkel Eric Lewis.
Mikkel Eric Lewis.
And that was Mikkel Eric Lewis. The same day, once again, also in California, 46 years old, killed by police, Jason Rodriguez.
Jason Rodriguez.
On the following day, October the 3rd, in South Carolina, 20 years old, John Acorth.
John Acorth.
Also on the 3rd, Jonathan Price.
Jonathan Price.
And on the 4th, it's someone from California. It's a man, we don't have his age, and it hasn't been identified.
Jonathan Price.
And on the 4th, it's someone from California. It's a man, we don't have his age, and it hasn't been identified yet. We don't know his name. So we'll continue, unfortunately, with this bad news. There's a lot of good
Thank you.
news in our work and our struggle, but this is some of the bad news. We'll continue next week.
Thank you.
Mic check. So do anybody else want to add before we close out?
I'm good.
All right. And I'm sorry because I know our brother Ben would have asked you, and I call him my brother, Sister Tracy, a lot of questions because he can come with the nice questions, but some type of way. And I call him my brother behind and in front of the movement. He's the one, and I want to give him a big shout out. He's the one that connects us on all the social media platforms. I'm talking about Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, all that, Facebook, period. This is a shout out to everybody, but he would have definitely been asking questions for some type of way. He's having technical difficulties. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think they try to actually shut my man down for the night, but it's okay. He's still
Yeah.
in the streets. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think they try to actually shut my man down for the night, but it's okay. He's still
Yeah.
gonna be in the streets. He's still gonna be doing this fighting this ugly system.
Yeah, he can always email me.
If you can, sis, I want to invite you back next week because I want you to meet some special guests that I have next week. So I
Okay.
can get you back in queue next week. You don't have to stay this long, but I don't want you to miss. I want you to like really see that fly, the fire in the fire.
Okay.
Get you back in queue next week. You don't have to stay this long, but I don't want you to miss. I want you to like really see that fly, the fire in the flame. Because tonight you were the flame. You were the flame. I ain't gonna lie, you were the flame. But yeah, but anyway, again, thank you all. As I always say, live to love to live. And my mom always taught me that if you can't say something nice, you shouldn't say nothing at all. Because these are the times that words to me cut hard and say the most meanest thing that someone. You never know. You could say the most meanest thing that could be the tip of the iceberg and set that person over edge. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, it's best not to say something or say something nice. Find something nice to say to that person. Because guess what? Those encouraging words goes a long way. Like, it goes a long way. Encouraging words break through the heart. Love always. This is a day that we have never seen before. And unfortunately, it's a day that we will never see again. Before, and unfortunately, it's a day that we will never see again. So I said all that to say, make sure you make we say, we got this little saying that we put their little fists up, we did our best. I want us all to say that we did our best. So just remember right now, but it's said that it's hard to do our best with our loved ones. You don't know if you're going to get killed by a cop or a robber. And it's said that the cops are the robbers. You don't know if you're going to get killed by a cop or a robber. And it's said that the cops are the robbers. And then you got the community violence. You just got so much. We're in a time like the killer police. Like, and I'm not talking about the ones that put their life on the line. The few good ones, I give you thumbs up because, it's just said because you do, like in everything, you got bad. You got good teachers, you got some bad teachers. You know what I'm saying? You got good doctors, you got some bad doctors. It's good and bad and good and evil and everything, right? So I don't want, like I said, I'm never anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality. That's the difference. If you're abusing somebody or you sitting there seeing somebody get abused, guess what? I'm coming for you. I'm coming for that badge. I'm gonna snatch that badge from you. That's what I'm coming for. But if you are a man, a woman, or whatever, and you're doing your job, you're doing it with respect and integrity, I give you kudos in these times. I give you kudos. But just knock down that blue wall of silence. That's the first thing you gotta do. Because at the end of the day, we might see black and white, but we know that when you guys come together, all y'all see is blue, and y'all cover up. And I'm glad that I met so many good men and women that was in, law enforcement that say, you know what, I got to take a break from that. That thing was scary to me. I respect them for putting it all out on them. I respect my brother Ken. I respect Steven. I respect all the brothers that came on this platform and, that told the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I respect y'all. So I got a lot of love for y'all. I got a lot of love for the few good ones, the few good. But just like my brother said, when you got a bunch of snakes coming down the street, you're not going to try to figure out which one good, which one deadly. You're going to take off running. And that's me, because anytime one of y'all pull up behind me, my fear level is up to the skyrocket. So I want to let y'all know, no justice, no peace, being fool with the freaking police. And my brother's going to take us out with a video. It's a song that I really made about my brother. You will see different pitch clippings, and it's just a little crazy, like how just 7 years ago it was totally different from what we're seeing now. Like, and we done changed mayors and commissioners. Welcome to be more credible, be more credible, be more city. This is just like it's real, so much corruption. But at the end of the day, it's still a lot of good men and women that are doing work out here that you won't hear about, that you won't see. Shout out to my sister from Ceasefire, Erica Bridge. Shout out to anybody that's going. Shout out to 300 Gangsters. Shout out to JC. Shout out to Shout out down Trudy, Charlene, Adina, all of y'all. Love you guys. Thank y'all all for doing the work. Hillary, and then I hope you guys are enjoying your honeymoon and loving. I think they give me love goals. Sis, when I see them, I be up there telling my man, "Bray, oh baby, this is what we gonna be doing when we get up there." Like they give me couple goals. So I hope y'all enjoying it. Shout out Uncle Bill. Thank you for always being here and doing it and even allowing me to follow. Does anybody know me? If I ever say I'm on the highway, you know something ain't right. It's like I jumped on the highway when we was pulling my cousin while I was gone. I ain't think about nothing. I wasn't scared. I got there and less than I want to say. I know I probably done some speeding tickets along the way. I wait for them to come in the mail because I was gone. You thought I was gone for us. When she told me he was on, and I heard him laughing when he pulled my cousin over, laughing when she said you killed, and she crying and screaming. That laugh sent me on the highway in full speed. Thank God he was gone when I was there. So I was going to video him and me telling him part of my mind, but it's all good. But at the end of the day, love to live, live to love. I love you all. So please take a chance and watch this video. No justice, no peace. We're in the world with different police, and it's real. It's real. Until we change it, nothing's going to change. Mic check.
Mic check.
This goes out to my brother, Tyrone West. We've been fighting for justice for 2 years. It goes out for all the victims of police brutality. Bird Gardner, Freddie Gray, the list goes on. I'm gonna rock this off for my big brother.
Since July 18th, my whole life has changed, and nothing in my world will ever be the same. If those murderous killers knew what they did, they would have let us ride orders and church white leave. None of an officer, running on man, gave me the courage to put this mic in my hand. Even through your death, we were so tight. I felt your pain when they took your life. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. From your steel-toe boots to your blue hats, the worst gate of police in the leader is banks. I said you eat a chair and broke the leg. You look like Freddy Krueger and your name is Greg. When it comes to fucking cops, you wear the softest to go for cover rocks in the ME's office. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. Stephanie Rollins like I won't death on you, man. You don't give a damn about the community or show that you care. With your fake smile, you a cover-up girl. You don't give a damn about nothing unless it's in your world. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. Your favorite song was and you don't even know it. Your whole life made a movement and the world starting to show cause you was a no-limit soldier. I thought I told you, God picked the candy fire and he showed no justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. Took my life will never be the same. I promise put a lot of laws up under your name to put an end to police brutality. Stop the stereotypes so I drop in black society. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. No justice, no peace. Shut you in the war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. Hashtag Tyrone West, YouTube, Baltimore Black. And these killer cops belong in cell blocks. Perez, Omar, Bernez, Ruiz, Nicholas Davis Chapman, Matthew Coffey, Alex Hagatha, Eric